What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michael Borky. I'm going to try something with you guys tonight, maybe a new idea. I'm workshopping the name of it, calling it One Take. I will give you one take on one thing, and I will do it in one take. No editing, nothing else, as if, we're doing the live radio show as usual, but here with you. So we'll give it a shot, and tonight I'm talking about the Final Four and brands. But before I actually get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Like the video as well if you have not already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I go live and also when I post a video. So it's Wednesday night as I record this, and the discourse is exhausting around this particular Final Four because there are no brands in this year's Final Four. We need more brands, they say. This Final Four sucks because Duke's not in it. There's no North Carolina. There's no one seeds. I need more brands. I only want upsets in the first two rounds. I can't have these Cinderellas in my Final Four. It's not as fun for me. I've already seen it and heard it all week, and it is exhausting. And for some reason now, people are so concerned and caught up with ratings and television viewership and like the price of tickets to go to this game that is being played, or these games that are being played inside of a football stadium. Like, great. I think it's awesome that it's under $100 for somebody to go to the Final Four. Regular fans are getting priced out of games anyway. So forgive me if I don't think it's a horrible thing that somebody can get in the door to see the Final Four for under $100. I honestly think that's kind of how it should be always. But I'm a ratings guy. I pay attention to ratings. I look at them. I'm interested in them. I am always checking ratings pages to kind of see what games did what number and who was interested in what. But people that usually don't care about that stuff are suddenly all caught up in this worry that CBS and their executives are going to have 1 million fewer viewers in the Final Four. Doesn't compute with me. I don't understand that. So what if CBS has a slightly smaller audience, and it'll still be gigantic, by the way? But so what? Why should I or anybody else care about the ratings number? As a sports fan, and especially one that covers Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and to a lesser degree Southern Miss, programs, schools that aren't exactly big brands. Now, I know that Ole Miss and Mississippi State are in the SEC, and SEC schools are not the same thing as Florida Atlantic. But, I mean, the last time that Ole Miss or Mississippi State has been in a Final Four in basketball or in this position in football was when I was 4 years old. The last time that these schools have been in this position in football at this point in the season, I know Mississippi State and Ole Miss were both ranked in the top four in the first ever college football playoff poll. I know that happened a while ago. I'm talking about at this point in the postseason, 4 teams and 4 teams only standing or less. The last time in football this has happened is when my father was 1 year old. So yes, the SEC schools that I cover are still bigger brands than Florida Atlantic, but I've heard from a lot of people here locally in Mississippi, where I am, say that same thing, that, oh, this Final Four sucks. I need brands. I need recognizable teams. I don't like that Florida Atlantic is in it. I've also luckily heard from people, listeners of the radio show especially, that actually kind of enjoy the idea of Florida Atlantic being, or in San Diego State, being in the Final Four. So at least there's more people like me out there. But for those who are disappointed in the lack of brands, especially those of you around here or are fans of a non-major power in college sports, don't you want to live in a world where the Florida Atlantics not only have access, because the NCAA tournament, as long as you win your conference, you're in the tournament. Everybody has access. Fairleigh Dickinson and Florida Atlantic and everybody in between, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, all of these, Patriot League and Southern Conference, and all of these conferences have access. That's a beautiful thing in and of itself. But don't you want to live in a world in college sports, or these two in particular, basketball and football, the ones that get the most national attention? Baseball's a bit of a different story around here. Coastal Carolina won the national championship all the way back in 2016. But the schools that I cover, our schools, if you will, in Mississippi, actually compete in baseball. But for the nationally focused sports, don't you want to live in a world where Florida Atlantic actually has a legitimate chance to get to this point? This doesn't exist in football. In football, every year, if you're really being honest with yourself, there's 8 to 10, and that's really stretching it, teams in a given year that have a chance at actually winning anything. And it's almost always the same teams on an annual basis. There's no access currently. Playoff is getting expanded, but there's no access for the Florida Atlantics in college football. And even if you gave them access, they can't get to this point anyway. It's a near impossibility. Only one non-Power 5 team has made the college football playoff, and it was Cincinnati, and it took 2 years of going undefeated before they got their access. And I think personally that they proved themselves. But point being, in football, this opportunity doesn't exist. I love the fact that we still live in a world where a college team, a Cinderella, an underdog, can be in this position, can earn their way into this position. And you guys know that it was no fluke, especially I'm hyper focused on Florida Atlantic because they are the lesser of all of these teams in terms of seeding and national brand power and all that stuff. But they had to earn their way here. They had to beat Memphis, a program that pours tons of resources into basketball. They beat Tennessee. They beat a red-hot Kansas State team. This was no fluke getting to where they were. They lined up and they beat these teams. And is the NCAA tournament the best way to crown a champion? Yeah, maybe not. I've seen a lot of people argue that as well. But I love the fact that a Florida Atlantic can be in this position. This doesn't exist in football. I'm glad that this happens in basketball. I appreciate a landscape where Cinderella can line up and beat people and compete and get to this position. But if this Final Four sucks for you, that's a you problem. If Florida Atlantic, if FAU was FSU, same players and same coaches, would that really be better? There are some people that think that it is, but I would even argue that Florida Atlantic is a case that should, even if you're one of those brand people, should really attract you to this team. The way they play, the style of play is really, really fun and fast and efficient offensively. If they had a Seminole on their shirt instead of an owl, would that really make what they're doing more enjoyable for you? Maybe so. That kind of falls flat to me when you actually watch them play, knowing what they are, where they come from, the few resources that they have, watching them play and take down these Goliaths that they have in this tournament makes it more fun for me. But by the way, speaking of the lack of brands, which is a thing that I've heard a lot this week, is UConn basketball not a major national brand with their multi-championships in my lifetime? I mean, UConn basketball is as big of a brand as you can think of when you look at their postseason record. Now, for some reason, Duke and North Carolina and Kansas get all the love, but I mean, UConn is more successful than they have been in recent history. Miami basketball isn't exactly the same thing as Miami football, but the U, you're telling me the U is not a brand? So when you're complaining about lack of brands, you've got UConn, a storied, wildly successful basketball brand. The U, San Diego State's the home of Kawhi Leonard. They're big and long and athletic, and they can force everybody to play their style and beat you with physicality and length. And it's a fun style of play, and it's a good basketball team, and I enjoy watching them play. Miami, the aforementioned Miami, has a coach that is proving that age is just a number at 73 years young, and he's the guy that led George Mason to that famous run that we all remember. And yes, there is Florida Atlantic, whose coach, in an article that came out earlier this week, said that he took the job at Florida Atlantic sight unseen, where he wasn't familiar with the facilities or anything, took the job sight unseen. And when he finally got there to see everything, got emotional in the bad way because he thought he was committing career suicide. He thought it was done, that he could not possibly win there. And look at where they are now. He has literally doubled the school's winning season total. It's been a basketball graveyard. And yet in comes Dusty May with a handful of guys that nobody else wanted. He's got a pair of Mississippi guys that the Mississippi schools didn't want on his team, a bunch of under-recruited players, and turned them into a formidable basketball team that lost 3 games this year. It's not like they lucked their way into the tournament by winning the Conference USA when they didn't deserve it and had a bad season. No, it's been an excellent team all season long. It's a coach with a great story. It's a program filled with players with great stories. If this Final Four can't excite you, then I question your ability to enjoy things as a sports fan. Look beyond the lack of brands and enjoy Miami and who their coach is and what he says, by the way, has great perspective on the NIL front. Even though you're seeing coaches of his age and his caliber around the country ring the bell about how the sport is being destroyed. Here's Miami's, again, 73 years young coach talking about it's fine. I mean, conferences negotiate television deals. Why can't players also get a little bit of that pot? Makes sense to me. An interesting coach with great perspective, a major basketball brand, a team that's long and athletic and physical, and a Cinderella story coming out of nowhere in Boca Raton, Florida. This tournament, this Final Four doesn't need brand power to be enjoyable and also super healthy for college sports. It's great for college sports that the non-powers that be have access and are going to play on the biggest stage in the sport. I know it's a different one, but I am absolutely fed up with the same old same in college football. And honestly, I'm a little fed up with the same old same in college basketball. And through the shifting landscape and NIL and transfer portal and all the discourse about how the rich are getting richer, here is a Final Four without a 1, 2, or a 3 seed and features Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami, and also UConn. I think it's great for the sport. I can't wait to watch it myself. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed one take. I'm going to keep doing this. I think this is fun, and I appreciate you checking it out. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll talk to you guys again on the next one. See you soon. I nailed it. No editing. Worked out perfectly. See you guys soon.